Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here, in for the second video on multiplying a whole number by a fraction. So what we looked at here in the previous video was what multiplying a whole number by a fraction means, and then we reached this shortcut where you can think of the whole number as an improper fraction and then multiply the improper fraction and the fraction together. So for example, in this first question, 3 times 1 over 5, I could think of this as 3 over 1 times 1 over 5, and then simply multiply the numerator and denominator, and I get 3 over 5. 3 times 1 is 3, 1 times 5 is 5. It's that simple. And for my second one here, 3 over 4 times 3, I can think of it as 3 over 4 times 3 over 1. And then I'm going to multiply 3 times 3 and 4 times 1. That equals 9 over 4. And then I shouldn't leave an improper fraction as an improper fraction, so I'll complete it up here. 4 divides into 9 2 times. Remainder 1 out of 4. Okay? And there's all kinds of variations on this. 2 times 3 over 4, I can think of it as 2 over 1 times 3 over 4. Multiply the top numbers, multiply the bottom numbers. That's equal to 6 over 4. 6 divides into 4 one time, remainder 2 out of 4. And 2 out of 4 is a half, right? So that's equal to 1 and a half, because I can divide the numerator and denominator by 2. Okay? So it's the same thing every time. As far as concepts, we'll cover this. You're not the hardest one so far. Again, 4 times 2 over 3, think of it as 4 over 1 times 2 over 3. 4 times 2 is 8. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 will divide into 8 2 times. Remainder 2 out of 3. And then 4 over 3 times 4. Think of it as 4 over 3 times 4 over 1. 4 times 4 is 16. 3 times 1 is 3. So that's 16 over 3. And 3 will divide into 16 5 times. Remainder 1 out of 3. And then the last one here, 8 times 1 over 4. Think of it as 8 over 1 times 1 over 4. 8 times 1 is 8. Oops. Meant to do this. 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. That's 8 over 4. And 4 goes into 8 2 times, no remainder. So that's the pure just concept now if I want to get to the answer. And what we want to do next is just the last thing we'll do is just take a look at a word problem and understand what this means a bit more in the context of a word problem. Okay? So there are 30 students in the class, and 2/5 of them have brown eyes. How many students in the class have brown eyes? Model a statement for this situation and solve. Well, I want to tie this back to, to last unit on percents a little bit. So I'm going to underline a key word here. Excuse me. So I'm going to underline 2/5 of them have brown eyes. Well, 2/5 of 30 have brown eyes. I'm going to write that down. 2/5 of 30. Now, we've seen things like that before. Now, take a look at this 2/5. 2/5. Let's think back to our last unit. 2/5. Could we make that into a percent? Absolutely, we could. I'm going to do this over here. 2/5 means 4 over 10. And that means 40 over 100. And that means 40% of 30. And we know from last unit that that means 0.4 times 30. That's not a 4, that's a 5. And when we work that out, we get an answer of 12 students. So I want to focus on the meaning of that word, something of another, meaning multiply, because we will learn that last unit. And then you can apply the same concept to fractions. So 2/5 times, I'm going to write this as 30 over 1. And then 2 times 30 makes 60, and 5 times 1 makes 5. And that's 60 over 5. And that's equal to 60 divided by 5, which is 12 students. So we're going to be exploring this concept of fraction multiplication in more detail, but it's really important you understand that one fraction of another means multiply. And we're going to explore that idea next week. There's no assignment associated with this yet, but that just gives you an idea of how you multiply a fraction and a whole number. Hope these videos helped. Have a great weekend. Flexing Teacher Weber out.